before you go anywhere. Shay and I just did some investigative reporting. Do you know how long, take a guess, how long it took into his head coaching career, Andy Reid, to win a Super Bowl?
Oh, well, he got fired after a great run in Philly, and then he had to go to rebuild Kansas City. So I'm going to say 17 years.
21 years it took Andy Reid, considered one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. And I'm one that does believe he's a great coach. It's hard to win the big game, Kap. Really is.
No question about it.
Back to you.
No, again, I told you, Shanahan has a tremendous reputation as an offensive wizard. You just got to win one.
Yes, you're right.
And he would tell you that.
Yes,
100%.
Tommy, what did you think of the special we saw on PBS yesterday? I'm sorry, on HBO yesterday. Right after the 700 Club, it is Hard Knocks, Chicago Bears.
Look, and I think you nailed it, Jonathan. Like, I think this is the direction that they've been given from people inside the building, whether it's George or it's Kevin Warren, whoever it is. Like, there's not a whole. I don't know that I've heard anybody say the F word yet. Have you?
Nope.
Like, I think that they want to present a wholesome picture of the franchise, and like, I can't blame them for that. But it is very noticeable. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point.
It's fine. I didn't tune in to watch the Waltons. I just want to see what the Bears are all about. But but it's what we talked about. Kap, they want to be able to put a wholesome picture out there. 8 to 80. They want everyone to resonate with what the Bears are doing, and I have no problem with it. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, and I think it's symbolic. I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't think that Coach Eberflus is one of these guys that will rant and rave and start drilling you with a bunch of expletives either. So I think it would be out of character of him, from my, little knowledge I know really of him. But it would seem like it would be out of character for him to be out there swearing up a storm.
Right. In terms of the offensive line, Nate Davis was finally back on the field yesterday. I think he was limited. There are a bunch of guys, Montez Sweat, limited, but they look like they're getting a little healthier. And then Eric Washington, the DC, said, yeah, there's no question Montez will be ready to go opening week. We're just getting our guys there. Do you feel better about the offensive line than you did before Buffalo, or the same?
Nope, feel the same. By the way, I like Washington too. He was really, I enjoyed listening to him. Got a good command of the room. I know they love him as a coach too. So that looks like it was a really good hire.
By the way, they did play really well. I thought the offensive line against Buffalo, again, albeit guys that may not be in the league, but they gave up 1 sack while the Bears recorded 8.
Yeah, I would say, losing Ed Oliver on the first play of the game affects the pass rush. And
no doubt.
Probably was, the greatest thing that happened to Coleman Shelton is that he didn't have to deal with Ed Oliver at any point. I'm not going to diminish. I mean, I think, Kap, I did the stats on outside of a 14-yard run, and I know I sound like Wani when I say that, but they really didn't move them in the running game. The extent of their rushing yards came from Caleb in one long run. Again, I'm not trying to poo-poo what you're saying. Nate Davis being out there in a glorified walkthrough just for half the period doesn't soothe me in any way, shape, or form. My guess would be, since he's listed as week to week, is when the Bengals roll into town and it does get physical. I hope I'm not right, but my guess would be he'll be on the bike on the sidelines. Because if you're week to week, I would think that would signify that you're not ready to go probably this week against the Bengals in a cross practice, right? So,
right.
Listen, I'll give you the bad side or the pessimist versus the optimist. The pessimist in me says, Coleman Shelton has been in the Shane Waldron offense before he came from the Rams. Why did Sean McVay decide to let him go? Why did he sign a 1-year, $3 million contract when that position commands 15, 18 million for the top players? Bates is a guy at right guard that hasn't played a lot. They may turn out to be a significant surprise on the upside. Like, I give you, if Braxton Jones takes another step and proves he can stay healthy and hold down the left tackle side, if Tevin Jenkins can be available for 16 or 17 games, if Shelton can handle the center spot, if Bates settles in as your right guard, and Darnell Wright takes a next step, then I think if all of that happens, I think that there'll be a very pleasant surprise up front. But how am I supposed to get there? You know what I mean? Like, I can't sit here right now as guys are climbing on my roof and confidently say to you that, oh, it's all solved. I still think it's an issue. I really do.
I'm really interested in to see more of this Austin Booker story, Tommy, because we played the audio from CBS Sports Network where Matt Eberflus sat down and kind of somewhat revealed that they're on the lookout for another pass rusher.
Did you hear it?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's interesting. But the Austin Booker, even though we got a little glimpse of that on Hard Knocks, I want to know more. I want to know, is he the real deal, or is he Mark Anderson?
You know what, Jonathan? I think that the best thing for Austin Booker would be if they traded for Matthew Judon or Hassan Reddick, and he could be like a rotational guy that will learn the business as, in kind of a steady pace. I don't think he had a ton of snaps at Kansas. Came out early, very raw, shows a lot of potential. I think that's the prototypical guy that can learn a lot by watching guys like Sweat and other accomplished guys play in front of him, and then you mix him in, and then he comes in and Sweat gets a chance to catch his breath. I think last year there were times maybe that Montez played too much, and I know it's hard to say that after giving a guy $100 million or whatever they gave him, but you got to keep these guys fresh. You really do. I think they wore out, Khalil Mack back in the day. I think these, talking to someone that had over 100 sacks in the league, who I lean on for my defensive line and my edge rushing information, he says, like, even the great ones that you pay a ton of money, you've got to make sure that you keep them fresh and you don't wear them out, even though you're paying them a ton. So back to Booker, though, I he's flashed, Jonathan, and I think he'll benefit a lot from watching Sweat and getting reps, but I don't think you want to line him up there and make him play 80% of the plays now. I don't think that would be great for him at this point.
All right, we'll have more with the great Tom Waddle on a Waddle Wednesday.
What was the final number, Cap, when it came to the Dallas Cowboys, according to Sportico? 10 billion?
North of
10.3, I think, Jonathan.
$10.3 billion.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, I have a question regarding this with the Cowboys, because every summer we're going through, this player needs to get paid, this player needs to get paid, and it just consumes the national media about what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do. As I've said very often on this show, the Dallas Cowboys are more of a theory or a marketing scheme, more so than a championship-level ball club. I would just say this, that with all the talk about CeeDee Lamb or who's going to get paid, there's going to have to be some point next CBA where the players have to say, how much is this team worth? How much are we getting paid? I could make the case. A lot of these players are underpaid based on the value of some of these teams.
Yeah, I would. The only thing I would say, and listen, I fight for the players. I think we've done a horrible job negotiating for the important stuff over the course of time. Like, we want a few more days off, and the owners are like, sure, have this, and we'll keep a larger piece of the pie. Those numbers are subjective and they're estimates, whereas the amount of revenue that is coming in is a hard number. So they're never going to consent to, the owners are going to consent to them getting a percentage of what the value of the actual, the franchises are worth. And there's a huge difference. Like, the Cowboys are worth 10.3, I think, on that same list. The Bears were worth 5.6. So there's an inequity there where you just can't use that. You can't use that number to, affect what the players are going to be paid. I think what they need to get a vast percentage of, or a large percentages of, I think the number came out because the Packers have to show their numbers. And I think the 2023 last year, maybe it's 2022, maybe it's a year in the past, I think the national revenue was 420, or maybe it's 460, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was well over $400 million, not counting local revenue. So whether it's from, rights fees and all that other stuff, every team got over $400 million. So,
Crazy.
I mean, what's the easiest way to make money if you're a business owner is to be able to cover your fixed costs, without even sweating. And think about it. When you're getting $400 million plus for just being an owner, and you're paying, what is it, $240 for player salaries, not to mention, administrative costs, you've already covered your costs, your largest cost, before you've even sold a ticket. So there's no question. I think what we can all agree on is that this is a cash register that ain't going to stop ringing anytime soon.
That's why you build in Arlington Heights.
I'm with you guys. I'm with
you.
you. That's where I would go.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what they're going to do, but my goodness.
I had a question for you before we run out of time. What in your mind is realistic expectation on Caleb Williams?
Oh, okay, for Caleb.
We're trying to keep listeners, Tom.
You know what, Cap? It's really interesting because I've had this conversation, and I've been saying this since the day that they drafted him, or they were thinking of drafting him. Numbers are meaningless to me.
It's win games.
Yeah, I mean, I say that numbers are meaningless, but when you play well and you win games, the numbers are going to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 4,000 yards or it's 30 touchdown passes, whatever it is, if they win 10 or 11 games, it's more likely you're going to get there. What I demand as a fan, which is meaningless, I'm just saying, like, my expectation level is the following. When we get to the second half of the season, he's got to be playing significantly better at a position that we've seen struggle over the course of time. He's got to be significantly better than the guy that was playing the position in each of the last 3 years. And you may say that's unfair. He's a rookie. Well, he's got a much better support staff around him. First of all, I think he's a better player. I think he plays the position more efficiently. I think there are some elite traits that he has that previous quarterbacks wearing our uniform didn't have. But by the time we get to the second half of the season, he's got to be playing the position at a higher level than the previous guy did at any point. And again, I said the infrastructure is much better for him. I think he's a better quarterback. So if we get to week 10 and it doesn't look significantly better than what we've seen the last couple of years, then I'm going to be very disappointed. That's where my expectation level is. And I don't know really how to define it other than if you see it, you'll know it. The numbers will come with that. But if you look at the field and go, yeah, we haven't seen quarterback play like this for a very long time, that's when you know he's met your expectations, at least as a rookie.
Agreed. 100%. Yeah, 100%. I do believe he's going to, if he's healthy, going to throw for 4,000 yards.
I think there's a really good chance because if everything's going your way. Now, listen, again, this is in the weeds a little bit, but you remember the play in the Buffalo game where he diagrammed it perfectly and they went from a single high safety and then the safety backs out. They go to cover two. I don't know if it was two man or just a shell two. When he sees that, what's he do? He's going to tuck it and run it for a first down. I think they're going to see a lot of that coverage because I believe it's the best way to handle all the weapons they have. So my point is they're going to run the ball a lot. They should run the ball a lot. They should, be a balanced attack, which may take some yardage away from him. But with that said, like if this offense is humming and they're winning games and he's playing well, 4,000 yards isn't a huge hurdle. It's not going to, but Cap, if I watch them play and they win 10 games and he throws 25 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and only throws for 3,800 yards, but they win 10 games,
it's all good. It's fine. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And if he's going to get those 4,000 yards on this college football-like schedule that the Bears have, get it before you get into the conference.
Yeah.
Or in the division, because the Bears won't start until November 17th.
Well, and Jonathan, a lot of times you rack up those numbers when you're trailing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are moments in the second half of a game you're down 17 and you're padding stats in certain ways. So some of those numbers can be a bit misleading, but if they're all meaningful yards or mostly meaningful yards and he only throws for 3,800 and you win 10 games, like I think we'll all have a party.
Speaking of a party, thank you, Tommy, as always. We appreciate the time.
He's to go now.
He has a party on his roof right now.
Really?
That's it. Have fun with your roofers.
You kicking me out?
Find out who that hobo is on the top of your roof there.
It's not a hobo.
Hit him straight today, Tommy.
This man's being paid handsomely. He better not be a hobo.
Hit him straight today.
I'm working. I'm going up to Hallis Hall here.
Such a soft way to be able to go through, have a 10-minute drive to work. We come down like, man, and we work in the city.
Yeah, what about next week?
I'll be in Wisconsin.
Kap and J Hood talking Bears in 2 minutes.